Hey everybody, Stacy Washington. I'm the host of the Stacy on the Right show on FM News Talk 97.1, and I have to weigh in on the shootings. The shootings that just happened over the last couple of days. So we've had Philando Castile, who was shot multiple times by a police officer through the window of his car while he was reaching to get his driver's license. And that shooting and one that happened just a few hours before it, where the guy was on the ground and he was being subdued and he was resisting arrest. He had a gun in his pocket. Someone yells gun and the police officer shoots him dead. And I've had, just some people reach out to me and say, well, your silence means you're complicit. No, it doesn't. It means I'm processing. It means I'm going through some emotions surrounding this, because I think we're focused on the wrong things. So now that I've had some time to think about it, I want to address what is really going on here, and nobody's going to like it. So rather than getting mad at me, think about what I've said, and please comment and, start a dialogue. Obviously, I think that's great, but getting mad at me isn't going to help anything. So first off, we've lost our way as Black people. And I'm saying that from the perspective of someone, I didn't grow up in, the inner city. I grew up in Germany. I don't have a lot of experience there, but I do have a lot of experience with white people. I live in a white neighborhood. I work with lots of white people at work. In my other work that I do on my own as a consultant, it's mostly white people that I interact with. And I can tell you right now that racism is not our number one issue. There is racism. I have talked about it on my Facebook page that I have experienced racism with my daughters in stores in West County in St. Louis. But it is not the main overarching thing that we as Black people have to address at this point in our lives. Do we have something to overcome as Black people when we meet white people and the first impression is, I present as a Black person, can't change that, wouldn't want to? Yeah, I have a couple things to overcome, but I can do that by what's inside. And that's what I want to talk about. We used to be, as a community, we knew where our bread was buttered. We were Christians. We as a whole, on the whole, the community, spent time at church. That was our network. We relied on God. He was our source of strength. And it was a political movement, the civil rights, but it was driven by the church. It was coordinated by the church. It was orchestrated by the church. The meetings were held in the church. And now we just have a lot of disparate groups that are politically driven, but there's no moral center to it. And I know that Black Lives Matter purports to be a group that comes from a place of wanting to save Black lives, but we can't talk about Black lives unless we talk about all of the Black lives. And that's the number one problem we have in our community, is we expect other people to value the lives of Black people more than we do. Until we value our lives more than anyone else does, we're going to continue to see these things happen. I can tell you, I've never in my life, even in my worst police encounter, had the kind of things that I see happening on videos happen to me. The demeanor of the police officers is never like that. But that's because I'm dealing with police officers in neighborhoods where the majority of the crime is petty and done by people outside of that community. White neighborhoods are safer than Black neighborhoods. So how do we get around that? How do we get around this focus on police shootings, which are bad? I hope to God that the officer who fired those 4 shots into Philando Castile, that he is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and he is brought to justice. I hope he never carries the gun and the badge again. He dishonors my father who carries the gun and the badge. He is guilty in my eyes. But I'm not the judge and jury, and we have to wait for the political. It's not a political process. It's the judicial process that has to run its course in that case. But there are difficult systemic issues that we have in the community that we need to address, that these problems defy the momentary heavy attention that's paid to police shootings. It's not something that can be solved by getting really worked up and upset about police shootings whenever they occur, when those are the least of our problems. Just a few hundred people a year are killed in the United States by the police. And of those few hundred people, a very small portion of them are Black. Now, every one of those lives is valuable, and I would rather see them not lost. But when you're interacting with the police, especially if you're Black, you need to operate on the highest standard, because you should be operating under the idea that you might have an encounter that could cost you your life. So why not be even that much more careful? Which is why I feel like the incident from yesterday, it warrants so much attention, and it should be looked at by the authorities, by a jury and a prosecutor. But how have we lost our way? Well, I just told you the first way is that we're not churched anymore. We don't understand that the best thing you can do for yourself is to plug into a church and live a morally upstanding life, valuing your life by showing that you value it by not getting into trouble with drugs and alcohol and the police, getting an education. And that doesn't mean a college degree. It just means getting the level of education that would enable you to get gainful employment. And marrying before you have children. Well, you know what, Stacy? You're all off topic now. You're supposed to be talking about the shootings. This is the root cause. The Black family is destroyed. Almost 80% of Black babies are born to single mothers in this country. I'm married to the father of my children, and I can tell you right now, I know for a fact that we live better and have a better standard of living. Everything in our lives is better because my husband and I have devoted ourselves to staying together and raising our children together. Everything in our lives is directly attributable to that decision. His success at work, my success at what I do, the stability of the environment where our children are growing up. Now, see, people don't want to talk about that because that discussion involves some hard truths. We have to get out of the club. We have to get out of the streets. We have to get back into our homes, clean them up, and start working to improve them. That means you have to have a job. That means two people have to have a job. Stacy, you're just pandering to the white people. The hell I am. I love my Black people. I love a lot of people, but I especially love Black people, and I want to see them do better. So because I'm Stacy on the right, I obviously hate myself, but I hate Black people. Bull crap. I don't hate anyone, but I especially don't hate people who look like me. I want to see them do better. And we can't do that while we're living the way that we live. You want to know why the police don't handle their encounters in the inner city the same way they do in the county? The way they do in the suburbs? Because they don't feel like the people in the city are worthy of the same level of respect, because those people don't respect themselves. Yes, living in poverty is difficult. Yes, there are systemic problems in inner cities in America that cannot be addressed by a live YouTube video or Facebook live video. But there are some things that we know that we just refuse to even deal with anymore as Black people. The fact is, back when most of our families had a mother and a father living in the same home, we didn't have the same level of crime and poverty. When we had people who paid more attention to their children around the dinner table, and the television wasn't pouring that garbage, that profanity, that sexual perversion, all of that garbage being pumped into our children 24 hours a day through their music, through their iPods, through their televisions, we were better than we are now. So we're already in the land of opportunity. You're not going to go anywhere else on earth as a Black person where you have it within your grasp to be anything you want. This is it. So rather than spending our time protesting and going around talking about how white people don't care about us, we've got to get back to the basics. We've got to find our way back home. And that doesn't mean every Black person is supposed to be living in the suburbs or in North County or in West County. It doesn't mean that at all. It means we're all individuals. And you're right, nobody cares about you. White people don't care about you because they're busy caring about themselves, like you should be doing. We should care for ourselves. And I don't mean as a community, like a commune. We are each individually responsible to ourselves. I'm competing with myself, trying to be better than I was last year. I'm trying to overcome my own personal obstacles and demons and things that I know I need to do better on. And that's where I'm holding myself accountable. And I'm holding myself accountable to God. But because I'm married, I also have to hold myself accountable to my husband. Because we have children, I have to hold myself accountable to them. You see how that circle means I have to live better than I would if I was just going out having kids and doing whatever I wanted? Where there's no accountability, there's no prosperity. Where there's no goal setting, there's no movement. So I want to know why it's so important for us to know the names of people who were killed by the police, but it's not important to know the name Jamila Bolden, a little girl who was killed here in St. Louis while laying on her bed doing homework. She's black. Why don't we know her name? Why don't we have more of an outrage over Tatiana Allen, who just yesterday used her 3-month-old baby like a baseball bat and was beating her boyfriend with the baby and then threw the baby into the sand face down, and she's been arrested. She's being brought to justice, but why aren't we outraged over that? Why aren't we outraged over the fact that 4,300 babies will be aborted today and tomorrow? They were aborted yesterday. 4,300 every single day. This is a 24-hour death train that's rolling 24 hours a day, even on Sundays. And out of that 4,300, 43% of them are black. We've aborted almost 50% of the black population since Roe v. Wade was passed. If you want to talk about hatred for blacks, let's talk about that. So I do think it's important that the police are held accountable. My father's in law enforcement. I believe in that vehemently. So does he. As a military member, I know that people who put themselves in a position of authority for service, as in the military, as in firefighters, as in the police, they should be held to a higher standard. And when they fall, they should be brought to justice quickly and swiftly with prejudice. Because in order to have a mandate to order around the public, you have to be above reproach. So that must occur. But beyond all of that, because the furor over this shooting will be over in like a week, nobody will be talking about it anymore. But we'll still have the abortion mills cranking out the deaths of 4,300 babies a day here in America. We'll still have on our heads that we've aborted 18 states worth of Americans, 18 states of human beings that aren't here anymore. And we'll still have 7 out of 10, almost 8 out of 10 black babies born into homes where the father's not there to sit them down in the bed at night and say, I heard you were acting up at school today. I love you so much. Let's talk about how you're never going to do that again, because that's not how we behave in this household. Let me have your iPod. You need to leave it with me for 7 days while you understand that you can't backtalk your mom, or you can't backtalk your teacher, or you can't punch kids on the playground, or whatever a kid might do, because kids are going to be kids. With no dad, with no example, not seeing a mother and a father together doing what they do, how do we expect to ever turn our community around? So this has zero to do with white people. It has zero to do with any of these other things except us holding ourselves accountable and deciding we're going to, one person at a time, one day at a time, one goal at a time, one accomplishment at a time, one neighborhood, one house, one street at a time. We're going to improve ourselves. If we're not willing to do it, no politician can do it. No black president can do it. No female president can do it. And I sure can't do it for you. I have to tell you that if you want better for yourself, you've got to change yourself a little bit every day until you reach that first goal and you cross it off, and then you go to the next one. And I have the authority to tell you that because I have improved myself one goal at a time, one day at a time. And because I've been married for 20 years, so I know about marriage. And because I have 3 kids, so I know about parenting. So this isn't a right-left issue. This is not a political issue. This is not a Democrat-Republican issue. I could go into all of the failed policies on the other side that I feel are contributing to this mess, but nothing changes until we change ourselves. So if we want to see more of us do better, we have to start doing better on our own. one of us at a time. And that's it. And the police shootings, you have to do what they say when they pull you over. And then when your behavior is above reproach, if they still do something wrong, then we know we've got them dead to rights. We know we've got them. And don't tell me you see white people all the time resisting arrest and they don't get shot. Is that going to keep you from getting shot? That's like somebody saying, oh, you know, so-and-so gets to do such and such and they get away with it, so I'm going to go do it. No, we're not all held to the same standard. Enjoy it, because it can work to your favor in some instances. But until we're the best that we can be, we can't even have that discussion.